Attention business owners, this is your captain speaking. Fasten your seatbelts as we prepare your business to take off. Hi, I'm Joe, your captain of online reviews. Give me a thumbs up if your reputation is important to your business success. Excellent, thank you, and welcome on board. Today, online reviews tell your prospects about the quality of services that you provide. As a matter of fact, online reviews are the new word-of-mouth advertising, so if you don't have a flight plan in place to get 5-star reviews, your reputation could be hijacked by one bad review, crashing your business. So what we do is we put you in the cockpit with our automation called Give Me a Thumbs Up. Our technology can actually predict whether your clients will write a good review or a bad review before we even ask them. So if you'd like to learn more about this technology, book your flight with Captain Joe today so that tomorrow you can sit back, relax, and watch your 5-star business take off.
Born into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here?
Hey everybody, something that we're getting a little too accustomed to doing here is wishing our best to someone who's going through some devastating times right now. We want to go on ahead and send our love out to everyone still who's missing, everyone who was affected, in which was basically the entire island in Hawaii. We also want to give our hearts out to everyone in California and now in Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. I think even North Carolina might be getting hit a little bit. I don't know for sure. All I do know is at the last time I heard, in which I'll be honest with you, was earlier this afternoon, there were 2 that had passed away this afternoon in Florida. So, look, I don't know if it's climate change. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to get into the political BS of it because it's not my thing. But I'm going to tell you this. There's something funky going on. And it's not just the weird moon that we're going to have tonight, even though that does have something to do with it. So, but let's make sure that we're keeping everyone in our hearts. Along with this, we've started doing something a little bit new. I don't know if you guys have seen our Facebook, any of our social media outlets. We've started doing little commemorative days. Okay, what is, today is this day, national. We started, I believe, on Saturday with national parks. And I asked everybody, and go back and fill them out if you would. I'd love to see your answers. What's the one national park that you've never been to or you have been to that you really want to go back to? Or, and my wife answered with Yellowstone, and all I can think of is she knows for a fact I've got an irrational fear of volcanoes. So I'm thinking she just wants to take and push me in already. Year and a half, less than a year. Well, a little over a year of marriage, and I think she's already trying to find a way to get rid of this fat guy. So, but we have come upon 2 very difficult days to commemorate, and that begins with today, which is National Grief, or our Day of Grief. Okay, this is a day that we respect those who are grieving. And I simply ask you to please be there for someone who's grieving. Take in and lend a hand and be there as support. In the post that I made this morning, I listed a couple of our partners who can be there if it's someone who is just not capable of handling it. Because that's one of the reasons why I've decided to do these posts. One, I want to introduce our great partners, our great friends, our mission partners who are out there doing wonderful things. Our partners like, we're going to be talking to brand new partner, and we're going to be announcing a brand new show. I am beyond excited about this show, by the way. Publio, but you're going to meet two of them tonight who could help somebody if they're going through a feeling of anxiety because of a loss. Look, losses are hard. Grief is hard. We all know that. Okay. Grief sucks. Some people can handle it a little bit better than others. Yeah, well, let's be honest. Some people can handle being punched in the face better than others. It's kind of the way the life goes. Some people handle certain things better, but we, through Community Pay It Forward and through Footprints Forward, we've met a lot of people who are doing some wonderful, wonderful things for grief. We're also going to hear a story of just mind-crushing grief. And we're going to listen to that story starting at the tail end of the first hour, going all through next story with a dear friend of ours, Erin Davenport, when she lost her sister. She joined us on Footprints Forward about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we're going to replay that. Then at the top, right after Footprints Forward, we're going to replay the show with Diamond Drip. Okay, Diamond is an individual who went through a lot of suffering and came upon psilocybin. Okay, psilocybin, this non-scientific name for that is mushrooms. Okay, now hear me out. Again, our purpose is not to push you to something. It's to educate you about something. We want to make sure that you know what's out there. What might not be right for you is going to be right for someone else. Diamond talks about how she suffered through depression and other things, and she tried regular medications, and she did this and did that and did this and did that, and it didn't work. She tried psilocybin and it worked for her. Why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because, damn it, if it keeps you alive, if it keeps you on this earth where you need to be, we want to make sure that you know about it. And we're going to tell you how to get to it. We're going to tell you a little bit about it. We're going to tell you people who you can talk to about it. Okay? Look, even if you're just curious, hey, I'm not a person who gets into psilocybin. Me personally, never in my life have I tried mushrooms. THC, I take THC gummies for my head on the weekends. I have to do it for the weekends because if I take it during the week, I'm asleep the entire next day. That could just mean that I'm a lazy guy, but it is what it is. So Erin Davenport, starting at about, it's going to be probably right about in about 35 minutes. And then that's going to go into the end of this show and go to our show with Diamond Drip tomorrow, which is International Day of Overdose Remembrance, or about overdosing. We're going to have 2 more shows, one for men and one that I just recorded this week with a dear friend and a wonderful partner, Daria Mann. And overdosing is another thing that we're not going to try to tell you how to get around. We're going to try to tell you how to avoid that. We're going to try to get you to where you don't go that path. Overdosing isn't that simple. Okay? There are times they're called accidental overdoses. I've seen them all. I have a dear, and I'm talking. This was one of my best friends at the time. He had broke his leg. He ended up mixing an opioid with liquor. Folks, there's a reason why they tell you not to do that. I'm about ready to start crying when I think about this. I lost Jim. He was a mentor. He was a great friend of mine. I lost him to an accidental overdose. It happens. But we're going to be talking to Mike Van Pelt tomorrow. We're going to be replaying his show, and then we're going to be talking to Daria Mann, because we're going to try to find ways that you can not need those pills, not need the alcohol. If we can help you there, we're going to do that. So, little bit of difficult shows, okay, because they're really talking about some things that hit, but they're very timely shows because of what we're commemorating right now. But the good news is we are going to start this show out with a great announcement, an exciting announcement. And I am very, very happy to welcome back. He was with us a couple weeks ago. He's with us again, Mr. Publio Casillas. How are you doing, brother? Where's the kid with no shirt on? Where'd he go?
Oh, my son, he's behind me. He's just doing stuff.
Okay, well,
That
you
is.
probably shouldn't have a kid with no shirt on, but I thought maybe you sent him after another beverage.
Yeah, he got me my last beverage.
There you go. There you go. So I remember my and this is terrible. In hindsight, this is just terrible. But my son that's turning 30 at the beginning of the year, he used to get so angry at me if I went to go get my own beer, because he was
really?
like, "Dad, that's my job." He wanted to
Good
go and
kid.
get my soda for me in the morning. Well, one morning, big fat dad, pretty hungover, and Free goes to get Dad his morning soda, and he grabs the wrong can. Dad, not even opening his eyes yet, takes and cracks open a silver bullet, and next thing he knows, that's not a Diet Pepsi. Oh, that was harsh. Did I dump it out? No, that wasn't me. I was a pretty bad alcoholic, man. And I think I told you before, Publio, I was one of those people that I have an addictive personality, and when I do something, I want to win an award for it. I want to smoke more. When I smoked more cigarettes than any human should possibly do. I was smoking 3 packs a day for over 7 years.
Holy cow.
And I mean, I would drink so much. I mean, it was so stupid. But those are days I don't miss, and I don't miss them at all. I mean, I think it's kind of weird now. You see all the wine bottles behind me, but if you look carefully, those wine bottles really don't go very far. And every month we do the show with Stephanie celebrating a nonprofit. I have 1 or 2 glasses of those. I might have 1 glass of wine or something while I'm doing the show to help push the wine. But I start noticing after like half a glass of wine, I'm like going, man, the room's getting a little fuzzy here. So I would have never thought about that. So, Publio, you're here.
Yes, sir.
Today, so we can announce something. The first thing I'd like to do is, can you please tell us about your veteran experience?
Oh, well, I mean, I wasn't anything special. Oops, sorry for the hair. I got my chihuahuas in my lap. Um, I spent 20 years in the Air Force. I had a broken service. I was I think I enlisted in 89, which shows my age. And then I got out in 95. And then I was like in active reserve for a couple of years. Then I went back in 2000, and then I retired in 2014. I was in Air Force. I was a weather troop. I was an observer for my first 6 years, and then I went back and became a weather forecaster, and I did that. And it culminated with me being a master sergeant, and I was the senior enlisted at the schoolhouse over at Keesler in Biloxi, Mississippi. And it was a great time. I've got a lot of friends, and God, it's just, I look back on it, and I wish I had paid more attention to the good times I was having at that time. But yeah, nothing terribly exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah. Only 20 years. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that you just said is one of the things that I always tell people. I always regret not paying more attention when I was younger to the stories that my grandfather would tell me because his time in the war. He didn't talk about it to anybody. He talked to me about it because I was doing a paper for school, but I hated doing homework so much that I didn't really put the effort into listening. And that's one of the things that I still to this day, I regret so deeply that I didn't sit there and I didn't appreciate that time that he gave me and talk to me about it. Because like I said, he didn't and it's he didn't even talk to my dad about his service time in World War II. He was a ground medic in France. And so, he saw some stuff that really crushed him. And I mean, it was, we're talking about overdosing and stuff like that. My grandfather, he would overdose himself to the point of passing out just because the demons were fighting. And as well as I do, back then it wasn't a PTSD, it wasn't any of this, it was shell shock, or you're not man enough for any of that. And we talk about that quite often, and especially with the suicide rates being what they are. But that's one of those things that I love the fact that you were one Air Force. I'm here in Colorado, so we got the Air Force Academy right down the road here in Colorado Springs. Still want to make it to one of their football games so bad because they have the best flyover in the world. Coming over the mountains and over the stadium. But what
That's
are
funny. Oh,
no, go on ahead.
I was going to say, it's funny you say that because I live in Pensacola now, and every Wednesday and Thursday, the Blue Angels fly over our house practicing.
Really?
Yeah. And also, I want to say something else real quick while I got the second. I forgot you were in Colorado Springs. I got some good news is I just found out last week that my son who lives in Colorado Springs is going to be a father, which is going to be my first grandkid. So I'm very
Congratulations,
excited.
brother.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Very excited.
That is absolutely fantastic. Congratulations. Pensacola, how are you doing?
Oh, I mean, as far as the weather, it's not bad. We're not getting anything here. I knew what happened is last week, right before this storm was coming this way, I washed my Miata. And as soon as I washed my Miata, then they're saying, it's coming this way. I was like, God, not washing that car again the rest of the summer.
I used to tell people all the time, Publio, that you know what? I think farmers ought to pay me to wash my motorcycle. Because every time I used to wash my motorcycle, either of them, okay, the Fat Boy or the Glide, either of them, every time they'd end up with rain spots by the end of the day, and it was like, ugh. So I knew that, but congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Is
very
so
excited.
cool.
Yeah.
What is one of the coolest things? What is one of the things that you've learned from your time in service that you have taken to the business world now?
There's been a lot actually. One of the biggest things I learned, I think, was an understanding of the core values for the military. When you first join the military, they're telling you the core values, you got to memorize them, and you're kind of like, yeah, whatever, you're a kid, you don't care. But as I was starting to become a senior NCO, I realized that, man, those core values, if you think about them, they're actually very important. And the Air Force, they were service, excellence, and integrity. Not necessarily that order. I always get the order, but I used to teach my students when I'd walk around the schoolhouse and tell them, that why they're so valuable. They were looking at me like I'm an old man. And the thing is, I tell them, look, I said, would you want to date or have somebody as your spouse that, that didn't put you first or have you as someone important to them, the service? I said, would you want to have a spouse that wasn't honest with you? And would you want to have a spouse that didn't do things the best way they could? I mean, would you want a spouse that would like half-ass the dishes or or the bills? Can you imagine? So why would you expect someone else to take that from you? So I think they're a good thing that I learned, and then once I believed them, I was able to help push them. And I think it's one of the biggest things the military has ever done for me was really instill in me values. I think quantify them.
What are some of the problems that you see out there right now today when it comes to veterans? What are some of the organizations that are out there right now that you see and you've taken in your heart? You're like, I really love what these guys are trying to do, and I really hope that we can find a way to support them. What are some of those causes out there?
There's a lot of causes, and I mean, like in my area, there's a lot. I mean, because there's a big Navy base here. I mean, there must be 30 AMVETs, legions of foreign wars, and all kinds of stuff around here. I think the biggest problem though is I think that sometimes as vets, and I hadn't seen anything terrible, so I really can't speak to it. But some of my brethren have seen and done things that have been very difficult on their soul or their mind or whatever. And they seem to close up or retract because of those things instead of reaching out. And I know it's tough. I mean, it's a detriment that we don't have a better way to talk to them or to get them to come spend more time with us. There's a veteran down the street from me, nice guy. We just met him by happenstance because my wife did a movie night out in our front yard. He came down and he's, I'm a disabled vet, but he's like physically disabled. Mine are all like, weird internal stuff. And he's a sweet guy and he's going through such suffering and pain. And right off the bat, we started making sure that he had dinners at night. He was, we're always checking on him. And he's like, man, I can't thank you enough. Why are you doing this? Man, that's the brotherhood we're in. It doesn't matter. You're a veteran who needs my help and my wife's help. My wife's very conscientious about this kind of stuff. So we make that effort, and that's what I don't want him to get reclusive. And that's when he starts to decline. And he's a really good guy. Love him to death.
It's tricky, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those things that you don't want to approach somebody and you don't want to make the situation worse by walking up to them going, "You've got problems."
Oh yeah, you don't say that.
But I know I've heard that once or twice before, but that's partly because I've had problems, but I mean it's one of those things that and it's also really hard anymore to walk up to somebody and just worry that you're not going to do nothing that's going to hurt them. And I know that there's a lot of people who are staunchly opposed to like giving money to somebody who's on the street or anything like that because they're going to use it for drugs or alcohol or whatever. And first off, it's not your damn business what they're going to use it for. I mean, it's really not. Second off, a lot of times that's not what they're using it for, And if you are worried about that, grab them a sandwich or something. I mean, it's so simple to do. We talk about it at the end of every show. Publio, I tell people, look, you, your wife, make a little too much dinner, throw it in the old hillbilly Tupperware, throw it in an old butter bowl, an old Cool Whip bowl, zap it in the microwave for a couple minutes, take it to somebody who's dealing with hunger.
Yeah.
Not difficult to do, but it will change a life,
Yeah,
and
nowadays the economy is so bad right now that, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people on the streets, and God, it breaks my heart. But I'm not doing that well either. I mean, so it's you do what you can, but it's a very heartbreaking situation.
yeah, well, you're, you know, you're just now starting out with your own company, and why don't you go on ahead and give us a little bit about what you are trying to do, what you're trying to build up, and then we're going to get to our announcement here real soon.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, I'm doing two things at the moment. I'm working for a company called Zafiri, and working is kind of a loose word. We're kind of a bunch of guys that are trying to put this together. And the guy that's running is a guy named Eric. He's also a veteran, but he's an officer, so we kind of give him some leeway. No, he's a good guy. And we're trying to help businesses that are struggling with things like cash flow, profitability, structure, those kind of things. And it's starting to come around. People are right now. It's a good time for that because people are hurting. I mean, even companies are having to slim down and cut. My own personal thing is I've got a thing called Davy that I'm working on. I haven't gotten very far with it yet, but we're working on it. It's going to be a little bit more small scale where I can provide some teaching or expertise in leadership or motivation of employees and your frontline leaders and stuff to make sure that they're doing things not only the correct way, but in a way that will be effective.
Well, one of the things that I really appreciate about what you're doing is that you are staying away from something which I think is very detrimental in business, and that's the yes man
Oh
movement.
yeah.
You guys you're not trying to go there. You're going to be a guy who's going to walk into a situation and you're going to tell him, look, things look great. Or, hey, really? What, have you ever thought about doing it this way?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you'd be like, that's not going to work, or that's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah. And having yes men it's dangerous because they don't a yes man doesn't teach you anything, do they?
No. In fact, they can help you down the path of not evil or whatever, but they can definitely encourage you to go down the wrong path, even though you may have had doubts about going down that path. And the yes man is very bad. You want people to be honest, and I think that's part of that integrity and service and excellence thing. I mean, if somebody's going to ignore the integrity and the service part of that, I mean, why do you want them? They're not there for you. They're there for some other reason. I like that picture of me when I'm in the suit.
Yeah. I kind of like the clean shaven one too. When I first saw that, I'm like, going, why in the hell is he sending me a picture of someone else? What's this guy?
Oh, I forgot that picture yet.
Yeah. What's this guy trying to pull here? Sending me a picture of another guy. So
I love that picture. I took that picture a few years ago. For some reason, I just love
it. Yeah, it's weird. For some reason, Publio, all my pictures, I don't know why, but my face is like this close to the damn camera, and it's like I list all my pictures as, the big head guy or the big growly face or something like that, because all of my faces are just, or all my pictures are like that. I need to get some real pictures done sooner or later. But
for me, my eyes are usually closed. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, so are mine, but that's because I'm always tired. So but anyway, Publio, you and I have some very exciting news. I approached you about something because of your 20 years of experience. And you little hesitation because you've never done anything like this before, but you're all in.
Yes, sir.
You and I are going to take, and on the last Wednesday of every month, which would be tonight, we're going to take, in the first hour of our show, is going to be introducing hero businessmen, veterans, teachers,
Nice.
Former teachers, law enforcement officers, medical workers, whatever, professionals doing their job, doing what they do. people who are getting into business, people who are just working for somebody else, but they're wanting to get out there. They're wanting to get their name out there. We're going to bring them to people. We're going to introduce them to people. We're going to thank them for what they've done, and we're going to introduce them to you, who hopefully you can help them along the way as well, just by this introduction.
Anything I can do.
But we're not going to stop there.
Oh.
We're also going to bring on a nonprofit that deals with our heroes. So it's going to have 2 guests every episode.
Nice.
Please. He says, we're going to have 2 guests on. Both of them are going to be heroes, and hopefully we can do some things to where we can start helping each other out. This is one of the things that I've really been thinking about, and you as our newest platinum partner, I just wanted to, I thought, look, there's not a more perfect person to do this. You've also got that bubbly personality. So, oh hell, I enjoy you. So, I mean, I know they're going to, and I think that it's, like I said, I think it's a match made in, well, somewhere.
Heaven?
But, yeah, heaven.
Yeah, man.
So I think it's going to be something that we're going to be able to do a lot of good on, and every once in a while, I think we're going to go on ahead and bring in my dad, who, you know, he's a Vietnam era veteran, and we got to spend, thankfully, and I'm just going to say it, thankfully, my dad didn't have to go to Vietnam. He was communications, and this is the funniest thing in the world, Publio. You see my dad? He looks like the character Radar on MASH.
No way.
And he was the radio man. He was the radio. He was in communications. So I swear to God, when they came up with the show MASH, they knew my dad. Whoever, you know. And
now the question is, does your dad have a Jeep that he smuggled back piece by piece in his garage?
No.
You remember that?
Yeah. No, he didn't. He's got 2 trucks that are, there's a lot of pieces to them, but yeah, it's not, he didn't smuggle either one of those back. But we're bringing our heroes, both country and community, and we're going to build a show around it. We're going to take them, we're going to talk to people who are doing great things, who have done great things, who have done things in the community, went far and above and beyond, and they're now getting into the business world. People who are employed by someone else, people who are trying this on their own. We're going to take them, we're going to talk to them. We want to do this because we want to, as I mentioned before, we want to take and we want to give them a shot to tell us their story and meet some other people around, get to know your services, the great services that you offer, and hopefully we can help them out. If you fall into these categories, get a hold of us using my card. You just go for my card and give me a call. Okay. You give me a call and let's get you on right there. I'll make it even easier. 970-909-0751. You do not have to be a member of the Community Pay It Forward family. You should be, but you do not have to be a member of the family to be part of this. You served our country. I owe you the world, and I will do what I can to make this about you. Publio.
Yes, sir.
Tell me your thoughts on this.
I think it's fantastic. I think that a lot of us, you know, we either get out of the military or we retire or whatever happens, and we forge out the civilian world, and it's tough, you know. I mean, and it's not that we're not ill prepared or we're not strong enough. It's just that it's such a different dynamic. I mean, here's a funny story. First thing happened to me when I got out of the military is I started looking for a job, you know, like all of us. And one of the hardest parts was figuring out what to wear. You know, every day I wore ABUs or BDUs. All of a sudden, that's not my choice or my option. So, in you know, the military, you know, a lot of us, I don't know if the services still do this, but back in my day, sometimes you'd wear, you know, your blues, short sleeve shirt with a tie, and you'd have, you know, all your ribbons and all your stuff on the shirt. And that was okay. Well, I was working at this college. I was the dean, and I always wore, you know, a suit. but I was wearing a short sleeve white shirt with a tie. And when it got hot one day, I took off my jacket, and all the ladies I was working with making fun of me for an hour. Apparently, it's a faux pas. But it was funny. But it's just these little things that don't translate. It's and sometimes we can help each other with it, or we can share these stories and make it light.
Well, I think, like I said, after we had our conversations, we've had a couple conversations now, and I really couldn't think of a better partner to bring into this and pay the respects to our service members and any hero. Like I said, teachers, as far as I'm concerned, you're teaching the youth of today. You're a damn hero. You truly are. You're this is unfortunate, but you put your life on the line every day you go to work now. So and that's just, it's a damn shame, but it is what it is. So I also think teachers are heroes because my son is a teacher, but he teaches English to children in Japan, to kindergartners in Japan. So yeah, but your dog get stepped on, or
no? Somebody went out the front door, and my puppy, he's a miniature schnauzer. He's about 4 or 5 months old, and he has the most high pitch bark when he's feeling like he's alone. It's ear shattering. He's cute. He's a great dog.
We've got a miniature poodle, and we've got I call him a hippie chihuahua, but he's actually he's a different type of dog upstairs. But every time they start barking at anybody who's walking by the sidewalk or something, my 2, now 3 giant dogs down here start flipping out, and they don't even see what the hell's going on. But damn it, that little dog's barking, so I've got to do it. That's what I want to do. I want to get involved, and rah, 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 and they start tearing up stuff, and it's like, oh my God, really? And then of course I've got baby girl who, she's the one that she's the one who scares me the most about biting somebody. But her first defense is run like hell. I mean, she really does. We've got the Dalmador, who's a giant dog, white. He's Dalmatian and Labrador, scary looking dog when he comes after you. But he smells your hand, and all of a sudden he just becomes we're friends. So, but yeah, that's not the way the baby girl is. So gotta love the animals.
I don't know how people live without them. Go ahead.
Yep. So that's our announcement, and I am first off to you. Thank you for joining me on this.
My pleasure.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and starting on the last Wednesday of next month, we're going to be bringing on a hero owner or business person, business professional. And we're going to bring in somebody who's dealing with in the nonprofit world to try to help out our heroes as well. I think it's a great way to try to get people to know each other and support each other a little bit. And again, where I'm hoping that we can get people to join our family and become part of the community Pay It Forward family. That's not what this is about. This is about, everyone that we're bringing on, they've served us.
Let's not forget you.
What's that?
Let's not forget you too. You've done great things. You put this together. You're, this is your brainchild, and it's nothing but, what's what I'm looking for? Not good karma, but it's bringing a positive into the world and helping veterans. I mean, you're the phenomenal one here. Well,
brother, man, I couldn't do it if you guys wouldn't have done what you did. And that's the flat out truth. So, but I appreciate it. I kind of busted you with it this morning on, hey, you want to join me tonight, and got you coming on, but I'm going to let you go and enjoy your evening. But I'll be getting a hold of you probably tomorrow or Friday. And let's get busy on this. But
yes, sir.
Publio Casillas and I, we're going to be working. We're going to be our show is Heroes Both Country and Community. We're going to be bringing them to you so you can get introduced to these wonderful people who have served our country in many, many different ways. And now they're doing some fantastic things in business. They're using what they've learned to better themselves. They can be inspirations for little kids everywhere, and even bigger little kids who are looking for something else in life. So, brother, man, thank you so very much for your time. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you later on, okay?
Okay, you be good.
All right, let's have fun.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye. So excited about this. I truly am. First off, Publio's a great guy. I love that guy. He's one of those individuals. He's kind of like Miss Baxter, Bernie, in which we played her spot at the beginning of the show. That every time you talk to her, you just feel better. You just feel better because they're bubbly. They got that great personality. That's Publio, man. A great, great, great guy doing great, great things. Hero to the country, and I appreciate it. You can always go to his page on our website. All you got to do is take and go to the website, go up to the search engine, search button, and type in Publio, type in Zafiri. Type in Pensacola. It's going to come up. Or you can just take and copy down the long address that you see there on the bottom, and you can visit his page and help us by supporting him. And as soon as you shop with him, take a picture of that receipt. And when you take a picture of that receipt, send it to us, and you tell us where you want the referral he's going to give us to go. Do you want it to go to a veteran cause? Do you want it to go to kids? Do you want it to go to families? You want it to go to a 501c3? That's all it is, folks. It's a shop, click and pick thing. So we're doing great things with some great people. We're so excited to have Publio on starting next month, the last Wednesday of next month, a show all about our heroes, veterans, law enforcement, first responders, teachers, people who have put their life on the line and now are trying to get into business. Plus, we're going to be bringing in nonprofits that deal with those heroes and deal with some of the issues that they have. So excited about that. Looking forward to it. Think it's going to be a good time. Put out a post just a little bit ago, and I really want to make an addendum to it, because we're going to play the Erin show first, because Erin's story is what today is what the celebration of today is about. Okay. And celebration is a bad way. The commemoration of today is better. It's what today, the commemoration of today is all about. And today is National Grief Awareness Day. And look, as I said before, grief is one of those things. It takes away from you. It really does. All of us go through grief when we lose someone, when we lose something. Look, I got a dear friend who had to put his dog down on Monday or on Sunday night, and he's still suffering with it. The grief is real. Your grief can come in many, many, many different forms. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're able to help you through your grief by making sure that somebody's there for you. That is such a great comment there in the in the private chat. That's such a great comment, Stephanie. So hey everybody, it's Zach Clayton, president and founder, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care. This is Footprints Forward. We welcome you here. And we are waiting for our host to be joining us. I take it Erin is in Central Time.
Yes, she is.
Oh no. Yeah, okay, because I made the mistake. I thought she was in on East Coast. So so we may have a problem here, guys. But why don't we go on ahead and start out, Stephanie? Why don't you introduce yourself as I try to make up for my misstep here?
All good. Hey, it's a Monday morning, you guys. Good morning, Zach. Good morning, Mr. Z. Nice to see your face. Good morning, Patrick. I'm glad we got, the pre-show chat in there. My name is Stephanie Simoes. Good morning, everyone that might be tuning in. What I do is I work with nonprofit organizations and people year-round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. We are a cause-centered winery out of Napa Valley with over $9.7 million donated to date to over 42,000 different nonprofit organizations. So what I do is I specialize in fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And what I love the most is when you pour a glass of wine or send someone a gift, it's a really great feeling to know that that bottle made an impact for a nonprofit that's important to you. Yes, you get to select the 501c3 of your choice. Zach and I run a monthly show highlighting smaller nonprofit organizations to help them fundraise, but most importantly, to get their mission out there to more people. So if you're not on our page, Community Pay It Forward, One Hope Fundraiser on Facebook, and you can find that in my link tree as well. It's the link right up at the top. I am also the co-founder of P&S Properties. We're a family-run business that's working to curb the homelessness crisis in our veteran communities. We work with HUD-VASH recipients on housing, and we're working to build veteran communities and housing while providing support and resources. My work through One Hope has inspired me in this direction, hearing where we're really lacking. So that's why this mission is important to me, and I'm really glad to be here. I wear many hats, so feel free to connect with me through my link tree. All of the ways to contact and connect on my socials are right there on that page. Happy Monday.
Well, that sounds great. And the good news is she is available, so she's going to be jumping on here in a minute. She thought she had another 30 minutes to get ready, but phew. So she will be joining us.
Yay.
Mr. Patrick Myers, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
All right, let me switch back here. I'm trying to put on the stream. So my name is Patrick Myers. I am the founder of A Call Edge Global and Consuming Fire Media. And what I do is I just help as many people as humanly possible and get the message of the gospel out on as many platforms as possible. One of the things I do is what you call the Youth Initiative. And the Youth Initiative is a tool for teenagers to be able to do the things that they are called to do, what's inherent in them, and find their own purpose with the tools that we give them. And so it is one of the most amazing things that I've done. Like, we've had our 4th session so far, and just how the teenagers are just opening up about their lives and what's going on in their lives, and you can start to see the healing already start to happen, and then like the idea that they can do things, and the ideas that these teenagers have come up with so far, helping a chalk walk, and where they want to do for donations, have people come out and do art on the side, on the greenway. Helping with the elderly, helping with younger kids, just so many different ideas that they came up with for solutions for themselves for their own time. And so that's one of the things I do with the Youth Initiative. The other thing I do with Consuming Fire Media is that we do various podcasts The first one is the Men's Pit Ministry podcast, and we got 2 episodes up on Spotify right now, and they're going to be coming out more and more frequently. And this is just for men that are struggling and going and trying to figure out, how to walk this life out. This is a faith-based thing, so we definitely believe in God, and um, and um, um, and just figuring out how to have a relationship with Him, so we can be better fathers, husbands, brothers, workers, bosses, just you name it. Um, um, we believe that God is the information keeper on how to be those things. Then the second one that we're getting ready to launch, is called Voices in the Fire. And this is for people that have just been through really, really hard times, and you come and you just share your testimony on how God got you through these things, and just share pretty much your testimony of your life, how you got from where you were and overcame whatever difficulty it was that was in your life, and how you got to this point now and walking in victory. So many people can use our testimonies and what we've been through. I'm only made to reach so many people, but you, as a viewer, and every single person in this group, um, we can help. We are individually suited to reach our own group of people. That's how we are created, and so Voice in the Fire helps us do that. And we have another one launching too, and I'll talk about that when we get a little more to that point. But this one is for the businesses and local businesses in the area to be able to come on and talk about what it is that they do, how they got there, and stuff like that. So those are some, and I go out and I tell as many people about Jesus as I possibly can. So that's who I am. It's Patrick Myers, and I call Edge Global. Glad to be here. Love these guys here. So just glad to have another session with you guys.
We're thrilled to have you, and we're going to get into a very little bit about what we were talking about right before we came on air, while we're waiting for our guests to join us, because I think that we made a couple of really good points, and I think that it's something that will help people out a little bit. After we get the introduction from the one, the only, the great Mr. Z. How you doing, my brother?
I am feeling very grateful to see everyone here. Zach, the goddess of the grapes, Steph, and of course the man himself, Patrick. Just want to give you a big kudos to you, Zach, for putting out that fire in a very calm, relaxed, and a very strategic demeanor. You didn't panic, and I'm glad there's always time to move forward in the right community footprints. And it's always great to see your face too, Steph, but more importantly, seeing that your organs are back in place, like we're all here today. And of course, Patrick, always good at what you're doing. So with that being said, I sort of have an announcement, but I'll put in my introduction. It's kind of a re-announcement or Z announcement. Hello, world. My name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer, and I am also a consultant that specializes in helping nonprofits, family-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and entrepreneurs like yourselves who are looking to announce upcoming events, book online appointments, or accept donations and sell products and services without the use of eBay or Amazon. I also provide a free consultation to those who are looking to get started on their brand new website, and to those that have an existing website, but they're not comfortable with the idea of accepting payments, not comfortable with the idea of making changes to the back end of their website, whether it's WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, or even more. I do want to emphasize that I do have a referral program called Z Referral Program. And that is if you refer me to a nonprofit, family-owned business, or a veteran-owned business, or anyone that is looking to modify, develop, or redevelop a custom website. And once they become a paying client, I will donate $149 towards the community pay it forward or a nonprofit of your choice. So I do want to say thank you very much for having me, and I am certainly looking forward to seeing what we have in store for community footprints forward. Thank you. Back to you, Zach.
Well, thank you so very much. And our guest has just popped on, but I do want to say one thing that's a little bit personal. Yesterday, I want to thank and congratulate my wife, Adrian, because she stuck with me for 1 year. Yesterday was our 1 year anniversary, so we went for a drive through the mountains, and we went to go pick up a young man that's a very important part of our life, and we had a great time doing that. So, I think that the best way to introduce our guest today, Patrick, is with you, because she was a guest of our show a little over a week ago on the wine event, talking about all the stuff that you're doing. You are doing some work with her. So why don't you go on ahead and introduce us to our guest, please?
So this is Erin Davenport. She is amazing. Just when I first met her, she just has an amazing testimony, an amazing story of like where she'd been through and how she got through it. And it was one of those things where, like you guys heard my story, it just captivated me. And then not just that, but it's just the person behind it, behind her story, her her resilience and her ability to just overcome and just think about where she is at and where she wants to be. And I found that just very, very inspiring to myself also. And so she's a great friend and has been a very good cheerleader, helped me move forward in the ways that I need to. And so it's my pleasure to welcome her onto the show.
Well, Erin, thank you for putting up with my lack of knowledge on where in this wonderful country you live, and time zone deficiency. I guess if there's one reason to get rid of time zones, well, it's to make people like me a little bit smarter. So, but so welcome to the show, Erin. Thank you very much for joining us. Why don't you take a minute to introduce what you do and to our audience and some of the things that are very important to you personally, please.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for inviting me to be here. And, today the things I'm going to talk about and share are things I haven't shared or talked about before on a format like this, or really beyond, people that are loved ones in private conversations. But I'm really looking forward to being able to just share my story and experience in hopes that it can help so many people who are feeling like they're in the dark right now, or their family members we'll just see what happens, right? Because the world is in such an interesting place as far as a lot of darkness, a lot of people struggling, and just wanting to know that there's hope. So as far as who am I? Well, my name is Erin Davenport. And really, honestly, I'm in a transition in my life right now. So it's really fun and fancy to be like, here's what I do. Here's all this list of things. And that's where I would have been maybe a year ago, but my life has changed so much. Yes, I've been a published author. I've been a part of film. I've been a life coach, but there's a new direction that's taking place in my life right now. And also a stripping of identity that I am not the things that I do. And that's just where I'm at today. So today I am Erin Davenport, and I am not attached to any title or label at this moment. We will see how this journey kind of unfolds over time. And thank you for being with me during this time period where I am going through a transition like that. And I'm just very grateful, honestly, to have the life that I get to live today and to be here with all of you.
Well, we greatly appreciate you joining us. And Erin, you mentioned You're going to be talking about something that it's not going to be very comfortable. And I want to rest assured to you personally, if it gets to be too much and you need to bow out, please do. Just understand that we are going to be try to be here to support you the best we can. One, and we really hope that that people understand the importance of your story, because your story can help so many. So, so saying that, the reason you're on here is you made a comment on our pre-show a couple days ago that you unfortunately have lived through the suicide of somebody very important to you, and that's your sister. Can you tell us a little bit about, please be comfortable in telling, but tell us about your sister and tell us about the problems that she was suffering with.
Yeah, so my sister, she was 2 years younger than me, about 18 months actually. And in my family growing up, she was the other sibling that was also a ginger. So we were always like told we look like twins. People would confuse us. I still don't think we looked similar, but we just had red hair and or just, the unicorns or something. And we just looked, we had our hair color the same, but we grew up honestly just doing everything together. We were like little buddies because of our age difference was so small. And that meant even overlap of friends at times in school. She was more of the type that was musically inclined. So she was playing the piano, very artistic, even from a really young age. I mean, we're talking about grade school and junior high and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I was jealous because I was not good at the piano. I did not understand any of that kind of stuff. I couldn't memorize a note to save my life, even though I was in it for like 10 years doing music. But it just came so naturally for her. She was great at chemistry and, just mathematics. And really, honestly, we would have a lot of fun as children, which is kind of funny. We would take like IQ tests together. Like, this sounds so nerdy, but we would be doing those kinds of things, like who's smarter than the other. We were kind of like competitive a little bit with things. And, she was just really intelligent, really bright. And I always felt like that we understood each other just in a way that, I don't know, they say that about twins. We weren't twins, but we just kind of clicked on the same page. She would be feeling something or experiencing something, and it was almost as if I could also sense and feel what she was going through. So we were really close. And even when my family couldn't console her or there were things that would go on, she always trusted me. And I was always that safe person to go to where we could have a conversation. And she knew that, I wouldn't tattle on her or as we got older, that she just knew that I would be her friend. And so having this kind of close dynamic growing up, at the same time, she was starting to struggle in her younger years. And I remember, I think I was in 7th grade, and she's, she's 2 grades under me. So she would have been like 5th grade or something like that. I don't remember the exact years, but I just remember my parents saying that she had taken pills and that she had gone to the hospital. I still don't have very good recollection of that. I haven't asked my parents about that since that has occurred. I just haven't thought about it until now. But it was like there was this darkness, like this dark cloud that was following her. And I could sense that even when she was younger, because on one hand, she was this really intelligent, articulate, teacher's pet kind of, person, and has such a big heart, cares about others, doesn't want to see anybody else hurting. And then on the other side, she I could tell struggled with things within herself, and that she was depressed and hurting. And so I remember that happening for her at a very young age. And me, I'm kind of like if something happens, I just kind of dust, my mom says I just dust myself off and just continue running forward, whatever that is. And I noticed her to, like, me continuing to run forward in life and her slowing down is what I noticed. Like there was started to be more of a disconnect. I would go off to college and she would come later, but really struggle with that. So she was navigating depression, going to therapy, trying to find a lot of answers to what was going on. And it was when we were both in college together at the same college over in Nebraska. We had moved from Iowa to Nebraska to go to school. And we were there. And she started to get very paranoid. Later, we would find out that from her diagnosis ended up being schizophrenia, and that she was starting to have like attacks of like seeing things, and she started to become very afraid of the world. Like before, she was like depressed, and I don't know how much of that stuff that maybe she saw things before and was struggling and maybe didn't share it. I'm not sure. But it really hit at around 20 when she was in school. She's going to college for chemistry. That was her major. She was the chemistry lab assistant, and her grades were always straight A's. So she was excelling mentally in that way. But at the same time, she would have these kinds of, it was almost like she was overtaken by her, like by a disease or by darkness. And my sister, I started to slowly from that point forward just see her turn into a different person almost. It's like sometimes she was just fully there, fully cognizant. We would be up to our mischievousness when it comes to playing board games or card games. And, you know, we had like little codes of like telling each other when we're on the same team. Like, I'm not advocating for cheating at card games, but it was kind of like this thing where we just, you know, we just had this kind of connection and had fun with it. And so we had these good times. She loved board games. We always played those kinds of things together as a family and with friends. And she had a lot of friends at the school, a lot of very heart-centered, loving people surrounded her, even though they knew she was navigating some difficult situations. And at the same time, I just saw this decline in her becoming more reckless. And I started to notice that I go to visit her. She had to drop out of school because she couldn't keep up with everything, battling her mind while also trying to, you know, be able to attend classes and wake up in the morning when she's had a mental breakdown all night or something like that. I also noticed, you know, she's battling like spiritually. She was having a hard time too. And it was rough. It was rough to watch because here I am. I'm trying to continue through school and I'm working really hard. I'm paying for my own education and all this kind of stuff. So I'm really busy and spending the time I can with my sister and with her friend group. Even though she dropped out of school, she still remained friends with people there. She moved across the street from the college so she could try to stay connected because she was fighting. She was trying to fight whatever it is that was going on for her. And she didn't want to let everything go. And I think she knew that if she would just completely isolate, that would have been the worst thing for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she did isolate a lot, but it was such an amazing thing where I could literally walk across campus and show up at her apartment or invite her to something at school. But yeah, she was in and out of psych wards. She had a social worker. She would go to the psych wards and we would visit her. And I always was just kind of, it almost was like every time I went to see her, she just kind of seemed like worse, or she was scared of people that were there. And that made me more stressed because my sister, again, she's like vegan. She doesn't want to eat any of the animals and hurt them. She's like, just like this really caring, loving person who's always standing up for other people. And then I felt like she was in some ways at risk with very violent behaviors happening around her. And I just had to really release that and honestly just pray for her and just trust that she would be taken care of during that really dark time. And it was really interesting to try to explain that to people because people didn't get it. It's like, where's your sister at? It's like, oh, she's, do I tell them she's in a psych ward? Are people going to judge that? They shouldn't, but are they going to? So it's navigating, being conscious of what she's going through, respecting her privacy, but also she had a lot of friends that were worried for her as well. So being able to be there and comfort them. So when she battled through that a couple years through that time in college and living across the street. And then she ended up going to a psych ward one more time. At this time, I'm also going through some difficult things, and I'm working through some things somewhere else, getting help for my own addictions and struggles. And I get out of that place to get support for my own stuff I'm struggling with. And 2 days later, I get my significant other at the time got a phone call, and it was my mom. And she said, your sister's committed suicide. And it was just really devastating. Because we don't ever expect to get a phone call like that, or maybe we expect it at some point if we know someone's really struggling, but we never want to hear that that's happened or that could be ever possible, especially losing my sister she was like 18 months apart. Like we did everything together. Every memory I have from my childhood is with my sister. And all of a sudden I hear that she's gone. So I just collapse. I'm at a Barnes and Nobles with my ex-husband, and I just don't even know how to reconcile what's happened. And I remember she had sent me a letter a couple weeks before that, in that she had had a mental breakdown. She had shaved her head. I was like, this is not sounding like this is not going good. Like, this is not good for her. And then I found out that she had, and this has been a part of a forgiveness process. Honestly, with the mental health system, I am just continually like, God help me to forgive. God help me to forgive. No one ever does anything intentionally. They had given her a new medication that was a very high dosage right before she had left. And the side effect was suicidal ideation, and finding that out and just being so upset. And I guess my mom and her were baking cookies, and my stepdad, I won't get into all the details because nobody needs to know all the details, but my stepdad was a cop at the time, and he was getting ready for work, and he had sat his gun on the bed, and my sister knew and had Googled exactly what to do to get it out of the holster. And all of a sudden it went from them making cookies to my sister taking her life. So, and I don't know what her final thoughts might have been, but I just hope that she knew she was loved. And I know how depressed she was that she couldn't live a normal life. At least she felt like it. She always wanted to be successful and have a normal life and have children and have a family. And she had said, I can never do any of these things. So being so smart and intelligent to know that the life you're living isn't the life to the fullest. And And I think that she had just given up. There were signs maybe that we look back on where she got rid of her dog that was like her best friend and found it a new home. She had just wrecked her car on accident and it was totaled. So she had lost her only way of having freedom. And she had visited my family that she hadn't seen in years, my dad's side of the family. There are all these signs looking back, and I don't even know if she knew that she was doing those things, and maybe she did, but yeah, so I heard about those things that had happened, and I was living out of state, and I came out for the funeral, and I think I spoke even at her funeral just about her and what I appreciated about her. And so, yeah, so that's kind of what I've kind of been navigating through is how to reconcile when someone that is so close that's always supposed to be there is not there, and the memories that I'll never get to make with her, to know that her life was so short, anger at times of like, why did she have to suffer? Why was she sick? You know, what could I have done to help her? There's all these thoughts that go through the mind, but I think that it's not able to be understood to a certain degree, and to allow it to be what it is where I'm at today, and to allow myself to grieve when I need to grieve. And it's been, God has used this opportunity of working through my grief. Not that he ever wants us to go through stuff like this, but to really be there for others, because people knew from my school what had happened, and the amount of people after that who had lost someone that was close to them. I've been able to at least tell them, I understand. I can't take away their pain, but that I can be there for them. So I never want anything in my life ever that goes down a dark path to ever have no positive meaning at all at the end of the tunnel. And I'm very adamant about that. Anything that's happened in my life, in the Bible, it says we can count it as all joy and be able to bring something out of it. And it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be that way in order for me to be happy, because I am just going to just trust the process of just life in general. But what a waste it is if I don't, like, right here today, to be able to be like, hey, forever, anybody who's listening right now, if you've been through this, I understand going through the loss of someone that's a family member who's committed suicide. I understand how heavy that is and how painful that is, and to be able to let you know that I know and I understand and you're not alone. So that's what I mean by bringing something out of it.
Let me, first off, Erin, my heart breaks for you and your family, and I appreciate you sharing your story. One of the things that we always hear, and you mentioned it, after the fact, you guys were seeing potential signs. What were those things before she took her life? Were they just coincidences, or were they just afterthoughts?
Yeah. You mean like
when she was giving away the dog?
Yeah.
You know, was it, and I really don't want to play this down, because I understand how important, especially the giving away the dog was, because that is one thing that that generally, when someone knows that their life is coming towards an end, they do start giving away things.
Yeah.
But you know what? I gave away my toys as a kid, and I had no intention on losing my life. But so it's not like this is something solely to people. What did it ever raise any red flags at all? Or was it kind of one of those things that you were just like, that's odd, but that's kind of the way she is?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really important to discuss because, I mean, if there are people that are listening too, that they're wondering or having awareness of signs of people doing things and just having that in the, not to be paranoid, but in the back of their mind, if they know someone who's struggling. It was out of character because her dog, Elvis, I mean, Elvis was a mess. Elvis would have accidents. She still loved the dog. It was just like, my sister's very clean and tidy, and she had this like chaotic animal, and it was her best friend. And it was the, companion for her daily life. I mean, when she wouldn't leave her apartment, she had the dog. And I think what you're saying is very important to look at because it was out of character. Because for her, as chaotic as the dog was, and as much as everybody kept telling her to get rid of the dog for a long time or get a different one or something, she never would do that. And at some point, within 2 weeks, I think, of when this happened, she had found the dog a new home. And she cares so much, as I said, about others and about people, animals, all that, that I'm sure she wouldn't have wanted the dog just to. I don't think she could reconcile probably if she didn't know what was going to happen with the dog. Um, Even with the car accident, it was very strange because it's like all of a sudden she gets rid of the dog, she gets in a car accident, the car is totaled, that's gone. And I think that might have honestly been a breaking point almost for her as well, because her only sense of freedom, whether she should have been driving honestly or not, was that she had a car, because otherwise she was completely isolated. My family, my mom, and all of them lived a couple hours away. So for her to go see them, my parents are busy. They can't go drive a couple hours, go back, drive, do all this stuff. That was her way of visiting the family. That was her way of going to the grocery store. And it was her lifeline in essence. And so that being gone, I'm sure was extremely devastating, because I'd heard how important the car was for her before that. And then as far as visiting my family, she hadn't there some of them are in Texas. So she hadn't gone to Texas in a really long time, like we're talking a decade probably. And she's going down there and going to a, Cowboys game and all this kind of stuff. And it seemed like that there was something there. Also, the fact that she wrote me a letter. She didn't write me letters when she was in psych wards, usually. I think that was like the first time she ever had. And the fact that she wrote me a letter where I was located and was like communicating and found out my address and all this stuff, that kind of spoke to me of something as well. So I think that there needs to be maybe awareness of and I think there sometimes is a denial. I just want to end with this for now. I think there can be a denial sometimes on my part in my situation, where you just never want to dream that something so bad could ever happen. That's like, oh, that can't be, that might not be what's happening, because it is so painful, honestly, to look at and to address, whether I'm conscious I'm doing that or not. But yeah, absolutely, people giving away things that are out of character and things that are really important to them out of the blue, I think is a warning sign.
Erin, and I don't want to take up all the time here, but let me ask this. And you were talking about, whether the driver's license was a good thing, having the car was a good thing or not. Someone who has the emotional difficulties that your sister had, would public transportation, would that been more of a trigger for her? Would that be one of the reasons why you would want to keep her away from stuff like that? Because I know that just getting on like a public bus, or I traveled to Texas once on the Greyhound, whatever stuff.
Yeah.
I don't suffer from things like that, but I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Would it have been problematic for her to be on public transportation?
Yeah, that I think would have been also extremely stressful, because there is a sensitivity that is there that's heightened. They say that about people with autism, right? Their triggers. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was undiagnosed with that as well. But that would have given her so much more stress. I just can't even have imagined that for her. So I think there might be kind of like this gap, even as I'm thinking about it, with just like, if someone does suffer, you know, how do they have that kind of freedom, but also at the same time not causing more angst and detriment to their life?
Well, again, thank you to you, and my love to your entire family and everything. Patrick.
Yes. Well, we've talked about it before, and like I was in tears when I found out the first time before you told me, and then you know, uh, 'cause a lot of things you're talking about just brings up stuff, and remember feeling like that, feeling uh, just really really lost, and there's nothing that like I felt like I could do about it, at the time. And one of the things I would like to say to you, because a lot just I like to say to you, just I think a lot of times the people that survive it, they don't know how to. They have a lot of just thoughts of what they could have done, and different things like that. And for everything that you're telling me or you're saying that has happened, and other things that I do know, um, when someone's going through things like that, um, I when I used to deal with the teenagers, right? I'm trying to be wise in what I say. When I was dealing with the teenagers, I used to be when there was taking when my best friend took her life, and teenagers were taking their lives, and I used to be very very angry. My daughter was one that was suicidal at the time, and was just going through all these things, and I was very angry with her, and I was very frustrated, and it wasn't just angry. I was angry at myself. I was angry at um, all these other things, and then being on the side of it of going through it, right? Um, your sister wouldn't want you to carry any of those things, and I know you know that, but I'm saying it to you because maybe nobody said it to you, um, from the perspective of surviving it, because my family and everybody else didn't have anything to really do with what was going on with me. Like I knew that they loved me. I knew people loved me, but it was just other darkness that was happening that was that had nothing to do with anybody personally, really. And you're talking about schizophrenia, so you're seeing things, you're hearing things, and then you go into one of those places, and then those places are crazy. I've been there, and whatever you have going on with you, times it 100 when you step into one of those places. It just ramps up because now you're dealing with everybody else's crazy on top of your own. And um, but I can tell you 100%. Even with her writing that letter, um, and stuff like that, that she loved y'all very much. Um, there's just sometimes just things where we can't just hope runs out, and it's not nothing personal. And And for the people out there, like, what was the question I would have to ask you? And from the survivor side, right? Like you're the survivor of all these events. What would be the thing that you would want most for people to be able, like, what tool would you want people to have to be able to identify these things, or be able to stand in the gap? Because there's so much advice out there, right? Um, but when it's on your doorstep, it's a whole, like, it seems like that advice and all that, those resources are never there,
Yeah.
right? That's really, like, now I have all the resources, right? I didn't have it then. And so what would be the major things that you would say would be the tools that you would want and you think people should have?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I think that just the first thing that comes to mind is that sometimes in my life, and maybe someone else can relate to this, is that we get so busy that we miss being in the moment. And I was so busy with my life, um, all the other things going on, my own problems. I'd moved out of state somewhere else. I lost track of staying in touch with my family. It is not my responsibility to caretake and to ensure the safety of everybody else, but it is a responsibility for me to be able to be available and to not, in my case, sometimes I do so much to drown out everything else because it's feeling overwhelming. So I will become a workaholic. I will uh, find other ways to numb out, in the past, especially. And by doing that, I'm doing myself a disservice because I don't want to deal with the reality of what is going on. And also, it's doing others a disservice. And I don't have, I guess you could say, like you said, Patrick, I don't have regret as much as more of an awareness and a way of how do I want to live my life from this point forward when it comes to the people within my life. Am I sweeping things under the rug? If someone's saying I'm having a really hard day, or they're sharing something that's close to their heart, am I brushing that off because I'm way too busy because I put too much on my own plate? Do I have excuses? Um, because when it comes down to it, and before, my dad has also passed away, not from suicide. And I remember telling him, "Are you going to regret that at the end of your life that you didn't work enough, or that you didn't spend enough time with your family?" And little did I know a couple years later that he would unexpectedly pass away. And that was always seared into my mind as a reminder of I still have moments today. I get so busy and I'm like, wait a second. The thing that is so important in this life are people, are
Yes.
the relationships that I have. And so I would say if anybody's watching and that there are overwhelming situations with family members or loved ones, to maybe push pause and take a moment and to address whatever might be going on, or to be available even when you feel like you might be at the end of it, or take that time for yourself so you can recharge and then be available. Because sometimes life it's burdensome, but I do guarantee if we ignore it, that is the last thing that we want to do, because the consequences are a lot higher at that point. So again, we're not here to save anybody, we're not here to be people's superhero, and also we can be present and we can pay attention. So I would say that is something that's really important that came to my mind. And also the strength, as we've talked about before, is that I have reached out for help. I would say if people are feeling over, like my mom, she was a teacher, she was a new teacher doing a new career, and she was this time of years. And I would say surround yourself. If you're caring for someone that's really struggling, or there's somebody in your life, ensure that you're asking for help. Ensure that you're bringing in a group of people to help to lighten the burden and to be able to then ensure that you're taking care of what you need to be for yourself. But also there are different perspectives that people can have around us, that they notice things that we don't notice, or may know resources that we may not know about. So those are some things that come to mind just immediately as you ask that question, Patrick.
I have one more for you.
Yeah. Okay.
In what ways can you see, like I know you kind of explained, like, you know, you how you see life differently, but what is the main point of strength that I think that have you gotten out of everything that has happened up until this point? Like, what is the superpower that you walk away with out of this?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. um, with my sister and what has happened through her situation, and as I briefly mentioned with my dad, who also passed away early in my life, it has really helped me to see how precious this life really is that I get to live. And do I remember that every moment of every day? No, but it has really shown me that what do I want to be personally doing with my time? What is the priority of my life? And also it fuels me to help other people, because as you know, many of us have probably walked through something. We can be able to walk with other people who are going through that. And as I shared a moment ago, be able to lighten the burden along with others. It's also deepened my relationship with God, which I threw into the trash a while ago. And I just recently picked it back up. And I was like, wow, this is so precious, because if there is no point to life, then what is the point? And I will tell you that that is what caused me to almost go down the same path as my sister this last year, is when I threw all of my beliefs out the window and there is no purpose to life. Well, then there is no purpose when we kind of have that kind of thinking. And I tell you what, God snatched me out of from the darkness myself this last year. And that now I have a purpose. And the purpose is that I want to be able to be a light in this world that is so dark. And Patrick knows exactly what I mean, because we've had so many conversations about this, and that we have such a short period of time to be here, and to ensure that it is well utilized, and that we are connecting in a really deep and powerful way, and that there is a light like at the end of the tunnel, not to use a cliche, like there is a purpose of being here. And that is what fuels me to move me forward, and to be able to snatch people, or be a part of snatching people out of the darkness. And there are so many ways we can do that in this world, but that is what fuels me today. And it's doing things like this, where there may be someone who's listening right now who is depressed, who has suicidal ideation, who is wondering what is the point to life, and to just say, you know, hold on, there is something there, and cry out for help if you need to, because you know, your life is precious, and the suffering that is there absolutely is there. We have compassion, and that doesn't have to be something that is forever. Like there is hope, there is a way out. And, you know, for me, it was that surrender of admitting I couldn't do this all on my own. So that's what fuels me, Patrick. And you got me now going on this. I don't want to start like preaching or something, but I will stop there. Okay.
Okay, Stephanie.
Great minds think alike. Patrick kind of stole my question over here. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here, sharing your story. You have incredible strength. I have chills still from when you first started. So my question was, and maybe we can elaborate on it or spin on it a little bit differently, was what really helped you personally to get to this point? Because it took incredible strength for you to come here and share to help others today, right? Like, I don't know that I would have been able to stay as composed as you were in sharing. If there are other listeners watching who are still struggling, who may be in a similar situation, are there suggestions or resources that have helped you to kind of move forward to get to this point after such a great loss. I was going to ask about your faith. You've confirmed you've leaned into your faith.
Yeah.
But were there any organizations maybe that help support you or get you through? Or was it the family around you? Was there anything that kind of stood out to kind of help you through?
Yeah, that's great. There are a lot of people that came together. So I was in college still, and so I had people who understood what I was going through. And I think it's also not isolating myself, because there, there's a great opportunity at that point to be so sad and depressed and not want people to see me like falling apart, that there is that tendency to be like, oh, let me just go to my dorm room or my apartment or my home and just like close the door. But that's the last thing that we need to be doing in that situation. So as uncomfortable as it is, to really get out there still and to be like, even if it's a text message of, hey, do you want to come over and watch a movie? Or I just need to get out of the house for an hour. Do you want to go to lunch with me? If you have a full plate and you feel so overwhelmed, ask for time off work and ensure that you're doing something that is going to be uplifting for you. So not just to isolate and not to make it worse, but really to look for an avenue of support. One thing that I did do too was, it's just kind of miraculous, but I went down to, someone sponsored me. At that time, there's no way I could have afforded to go to I went to the Meadows, which is a treatment center, but it was for grieving. There's a grieving workshop. It's down in Arizona, and it was a week long. And I went there with a couple other people who were grieving different losses in their life. And so that's something that I can recommend that was very helpful. And it's in a group setting where there are other people working through some really heavy things, and you understand that other people understand. And that was very helpful for me. Also, continuing to not give up on myself. And that meant being open, because I don't know if there's a one size fits all for everybody, but there are things that come our way that are opportunities. Like I could have told the person who was going to sponsor me to go to the Meadows, no. I could have said, no, that's uncomfortable. My schedule's busy, or I don't know what that is. But I stayed open. So if someone's going through grieving and having a difficult time, stay open, to what people are offering. Pray about it if you do pray. And ensure that it's something that's actually going to be helpful for you. But the least and most unexpected ways that things have come into my life that I was like, oh, that I've never heard of that before. That doesn't sound helpful, end up being some of the best things for my life. And sometimes it's breaking for me past the stubbornness. I don't know if there's any other stubborn people out there. So yeah, those are some different ways outside of my faith, I would say, that have really given me comfort. And yeah, hopefully that helps somebody.
Mr. Z, and I know that we're running really, really tight on time, but I just want to find out if you have any questions or anything to add. Why don't we go on ahead and also throw in the part where, what have you learned today?
Of course. I want to start off by saying thank you, Erin, for sharing your story. I know it takes a lot of strength and courage to share your story, and it really means a lot that you're willing to share your story and your relationship with your sister, who was 18 months younger than you, who's accomplished so much, and you both were very close. And you're absolutely right. It's not your responsibility to be everyone's superhero, but it's nice to feel like one. And the fact you're making a huge difference towards those who are experiencing what you went through, and it's nice to know that they could go to someone like yourself that can give them that sense of hope and be the beacon of their life. And no one ever wants to go through it alone. And Patrick had mentioned, had he had those resources, things would be a lot more different. And now that you could be the resource that people could listen to, talk to, without having to feel alone in the process. And I don't want to sound cliche, but you are showing them the light to the ways that there's hope. And you brought up some great points about the signs. And I'm no expert by any means, but this is something that I'm going to think about, sort of blending into what I've learned. One of the biggest signs, I suppose, it's when they're acting out of place. When you have someone who's a all-star athlete, someone who's an expert person who plays the piano or playing instruments, and all of a sudden they lost interest in what they do, that's something that I should probably be on the lookout for when someone's just completely out of place. Um, and I do want to just say that it's very good to know that there are people like yourself that are using your experiences. I don't want to say use, I would say sharing your experiences to help those who don't even know the signs yet. And maybe they have a sibling that they're not so close to because they're very busy with their work. And just take a moment to say, you know what, I wonder how my sister's doing. I wonder how my brother's doing. How's my cousin doing? And I think hearing your story kind of reminds them that, you know, our careers come and go, or some careers will last a long time, but family will stay forever. And my impression of what you're doing, it's phenomenal. And thank goodness that you were able to get that sponsorship towards that retreat,
Mhm.
because it's really hard to find someone who shares the vision that you have. Like many people here, you got Patrick, Zach, Steph, who have that faith in not just helping others, but what others can do to help others. So I do want to say that what you're doing, it's fantastic work. And if I could be so boorish to say, on behalf of everybody here, we're we're so glad that you could share your story. And it's good to learn from people who have experienced it and not finding out until it's too late. And my question for you is, you mentioned that you wrote a book, or if you're an author, uh, if you are an author, what's the name of your book?
Yeah, that's a great. Okay, so it's I brought together other life coaches and like chicken noodle soup for the
Lovely.
soul kind of style. And it's the same concept, I guess, because it's 50 the first book was 52 stories about life coaches who overcame hard times in their life, and it shows that they made it through it. And it's called Short, Sweet, and Sacred. And there's actually 3 of them on Amazon that you can find there. And people have given really great feedback about how the stories have been uplifting to them during times of, you know, a breast cancer diagnosis. There's some coaches who wrote about that. I share about my dad and him and his passing away and that experience. Uh, there's a lot of stuff in there, something for everybody.
Erin, thank you. Thank you. Um, again, takes immense strength, and your story is very, very powerful. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the pain that you just went through telling this story, and I hope that it's going to bring the strength to someone else that's out there. I do wholeheartedly believe that this is the one story that proves what our name of this show is, that your sister, we wish you would have known that no matter how softly you walk, you always leave footprints.
Yeah.
Look, you're always going to be missed. Okay. And so this proves that point. I don't want to put you on a spot, but as these guys were asking, what would be the one thing you would tell a family right now that's going through the pain or maybe the fear that they have somebody who they're about ready to lose? What would be the one thing you would tell them?
Well, I can speak to that because I have one of my brothers is goes through depression really heavily still to this day. He's someone I still worry about. And what I can say is that, just be there for them when they're reaching out. And as Z said earlier, be intentional about reaching out. Also, maybe asking yourself, where can you find your hope? Because if I feel like I have to hold up the universe, that's a lot. That is a lot for anybody to have to do, but I know where I can turn, and I talked about my faith. So what what does that look like for you? That you can be able to know that there are resources out there that are even bigger than us that can absolutely orchestrate a miracle in your life. And so I would say that would be something to think about.
Stephanie, what did you learn today?
I just think it's really, really inspiring, Erin, that you're really just trying to bring joy out of hard situations. So I'll leave it with that.
Yeah. Thanks, Stephanie.
Patrick?
Glory to God. That's what I gotta say, Erin. Gotta always be intentional about that. So
yeah.
Glory to God.
Yeah.
Glory to God in the highest, for sure. The thing I learned today, we were just talking about this. I had a friend, actually. I went back and asked this friend, what did you guys experience when I took my life, right? And the one thing that they said to me was they were like kind of teared up. It's like, we didn't know you were right next to us. We didn't know that you were actually suffering as much as you were. Like, when I actually told them what I was going through, I could see that they had no clue. I thought that they did, actually. I thought that they did, but they had no clue whatsoever that I was going through so much. And if you're out there and you're struggling with these things, with depression and anxiety and suicide, you tell somebody. Tell somebody. You see my number right here on the bottom. You can tell me. I'm game. Don't, we're all here for you, to be honest. I don't really like to give my number out so much, you know what I mean? But it's there for a reason. You can email me anything and just reach out and let's have a conversation, and know that someone's in your corner. So just reach out and talk to somebody. And that's something that I really recently learned. I mean, I knew it, but I didn't know how much it affected people because they want to know. I didn't know that my friends wanted to know. I didn't know that my family wanted to know. And it's not whether or not sometimes people can do something for you or do something about it, because a lot of times the people closest to you, they're not equipped, but they can love you through it and love you unconditionally through it. And that's sometimes the most important thing, because that's one of the things that I felt like I wasn't loved. And it had nothing to do with, I didn't think that they loved me. It's just in a deficit of love in general. And so, Erin, just thank you. I learned a lot more about you personally as a woman, as a friend, and as a follower of Christ. Just the strength that it takes to keep walking forward, and then what God can do as a force multiplier of that strength when you're yielded to Him.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned today.
Ellen, I'm just going to say that, no matter how busy you are, just remember that whatever you're doing is not as important as finalism. So, if you're too busy to talk to someone, you may never be able to talk to them again. Erin, I would like to raise or extend an invitation to you to join us whenever you're free. Your story is very powerful, and I think that your message is extremely important. So I'd like to welcome you to come and join us whenever you would like. Just reach out to us. Any of us would benefit from everything that you've went through and are going through now. So I would really like to extend that offer to you. I think that you would definitely do well. Hey, everybody, we ran a little bit over, and I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to make sure that you guys join us every week as we try to help people navigate this difficult situation, because suicide is final. You can't recover from suicide. Once you're gone, you're gone. So please make sure that you love somebody, because we're showing right now that somebody out here loves you. My name is Zach. For our family, Stephanie Samos, Mr. Z, Patrick, and Erin, I'm even going to throw you into the family here. We thank you very much, and we will. Yes, and Zephyr, she had to go and make herself be known. But we'd like to thank you, and we will see you next week, right back, right here on Footprints Forward. Thank you very much. Well, again, that was one of the more powerful shows that we've ever had. But we got 2 more powerful shows that are going to be coming on tomorrow, starting at 5 p.m. East, with Mike Van Pelt, and then Daria Mann, who run programs. Both of them have programs to try to help people. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. Try to help people with to prevent overdosing. Hey guys, Carolyn Rasmussen, you guys all know her as our wonderful pampered chef, has a wonderful program going on. The Maui fires have been devastating, and I wanted to help. I'm doing a pampered chef fundraiser for Feeding American Maui, where every $50 order is 100 meals to the Maui Food Bank. When you spend $50, I'll add a special gift from me. $90 adds the additional free item from Pampered Chef, and a $100 order gets you into a raffle for $60 off any item. If you want this, text 970-909-0751, 970-909-0751. Just give me a text saying, please share this text with me, and I will share it with you. Hey, everybody, that's all the time that we've got for tonight. Thank you very much. Again, please love somebody, because somebody loves you. Somebody out here loves you. If you're not helping anyone, you're hurting everyone. Please, if you've got clothing that does not fit you, put it to use and get it onto the backs of people who need it. If you got extra food, and look who made herself present. Go figure. Hello, Zephyr. If you're, don't scratch my magazine. God, I'd hate to hurt my dog on live television thingy. If you got extra food, please put it in the Hillbilly Tupperware and get it to someone who needs it, because you know what? Nobody needs to go it alone when we all come together. My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the pACT channels. Till next week, thank you. Have a great week. And please keep everyone in mind that's going through horrible, horrible things right now.